Hello and welcome to the Spirit Safe. My name's Rob and thank you very much for joining me for another malt whisky review. Today we have something unusual. It is the Bruichladdich Bere Barley 2008 vintage in this very smart tube, which is about the colour of the typical nice silver BMW company car colour. What's interesting about this is that it's made using beer barley, which is a strain of barley which is no longer commercially sown because it's fallen out of favour. A very old strain of barley, and it produces about half of the normal yield that a commercial strain would produce. So it's very expensive. It's fallen out of favour. Quite interesting, really, because obviously barley is an important constituent part of a malt whisky, but you don't get a lot of information about the barley that's used. A lot of distilleries talk more about the source of the water in the malt than they do about the barley. Exceptions are Glenfarclas, Bruichladdich and Benromach as well. They talk a lot more about provenance, but otherwise the barley that's in your Scotch whisky could well be grown in Russia, Poland, the Baltic countries, or heaven forbid, France. Let's take a look at it then. It's bottled at 50%, single malts. Bruichladdich they were known always as renegade type distillers, but they were recently bought out by Remy Cointreau. So I hope that this experimentation carries on. I was a bit sceptical about this because you think, how can the strain of barley really influence the whisky when you consider that the barley has to be cut down, dried, moistened, malted either on a malting floor or a malting drum, dried sometimes over peat smoke, ground down, brewed into a kind of beer, boiled up in a still, and then how much of that influence can remain in the end product. So I was sceptical as to whether or not it would be any different. It's certainly the most hipster whisky idea I've ever heard of, bringing back an almost extinct strain of barley. But let's give it a try. So it's natural colour, bottled at 50% and non-chill filtered. It's a very light champagne, perhaps even lighter than champagne colour. Lots of information on the tube about the provenance of the grains as well, of the malt as well. It tells you exactly which farm it came from on the Orkney Islands. Immediately there's a freshness, a bright and breeziness about it, but there's a tremendous warmth as well. It's very, very typical of the Bruichladdich style, but there's a hint that this is going to be very, very dry. There's all the things you expect to see on a bourbon matured whisky, which this is, matured entirely in ex-bourbon casks. But there's a hint that there's going to be something sour, like on a Balvenie. Let's just add a hint of water. There's a fair whack of menthol with this. It's intriguing, and I'm beginning to think that actually, yeah, the strain of barley has done something here. A couple of drops of water really opens it up. I get green apple peel, an interesting malt which is pleasantly sour, and a kind of winey note that indicates a real dryness, a sourness to it. And there's something green, crisp and verdant about it. Not hay and clipped grass, just something very green and almost young. It's difficult to describe. I think it could probably do with another drop of water. It's difficult to get the water absolutely right. I put in 2 teaspoons. I'm going to put in just another half a teaspoon there. Hint of something sweet. More menthol. Yeah, it's very, very nice. It really is made in that signature Bruichladdich style. Very nice. On the palate, it bursts with a kind of barrel char. In the arrival, it's quite barley sweet, but then it progresses to this nice sourness. And then on the palate, there's a bit of cough sweet as well, which is more dryness and sourness. It's not at all unpleasant. It's very interesting. And I'm beginning to be convinced that actually the strain of barley can have an influence on the final product. A very, very pleasant sourness, bit of grapefruit. This altogether isn't the most complex thing in the world, but I salute the experimentation that's gone on. May it continue under the ownership of Remy Cointreau. This is never going to be my favourite whisky, but I think it's very, very good. It starts out as an object of intrigue. It starts out as the most hipster thing since the last Ardbeg special release. And then as you get to know it, it just progresses to become a nice sipping whisky with a couple of drops of water. I have enjoyed it. This is travel retail only, so if you're passing through the airport, you could do an awful lot worse than this actually. In terms of character, this is going to sound very odd, but I think it's like a piece of Scandinavian furniture. It's made in a very specific way. It's not ornate, it's not got lots of ornamentation about it. It's just made in a very nice, honest way, and it's presented in a nice way. But it's heavily, very laser-like focus on what it needs to be. Not everybody will enjoy this because of the sourness, but because it reflects the Bruichladdich style. If you are a big Bruichladdich fan and you've not tried it and you're going through the airport, see it, pick it up. It's about €60, so it's not outrageously cheap, but I have enjoyed it and I have learnt a lot from it. So it's been a good experience for me. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching. I've enjoyed everybody's comments on my videos, by the way. Nobody's been too mean. Yeah, let me know if you've tried this. Let me know if you've enjoyed the review. Very nice. I'm going to finish this off. And then over the coming days I'm going to finish off the bottle because it's just a nice sipper. Fantastic. Thank you very much everybody. See you soon. Bye.